Steve?
Yeah, back to the West Thames field, on their point of why was there no public comment. There's been intentionally probably no discussion at the BPCA meetings about this. But last week, NBC News ran a 5-part series on these fields and how they're possibly increasing deadly cancers in the kids who play soccer on them. And the EPA is intentionally avoiding the topic. So, when these fields are, the very safety of them is in question. How in the world can you do this without any public input?
We have done research. And
So you know more than the EPA?
I'm not going to get into an argument with you about the EPA.
Will it be pellets? Will it be rubber pellets? What kind of field?
It's TPE.
What's that?
It's a virgin rubber product.
Okay.
It's not proper.
And NBC ran a 5-part series about how it's causing cancer in kids.
Well, thank you, Steve.
I mean, I'm not sure what your title is or what the role is. I'm wondering if there's any concern at the authority that the community does feel disrespected, ignored, and we get late. You're informing us, which is great, and you're very articulate. You're obviously very smart. It was great we brought us through. But I mean, it's as simple as you just not you, but the authority doesn't really care what we think, or it does and wants to find a way to react so that we can find out about things before they're an issue. There have been a number of issues that I won't bother listing right now, but we all read about them in the papers. So I'm wondering if there's any thought about that, because it does feel like we're the people that pay the rents, that pay the ground mortgage, ground leases, that provide this massive amount of money into the authority. And the authority just continually makes decisions without much community input. And I mean, there's certainly is thought, there's conversation from some of the community that the city could take over the authority with a small payment, I believe, so $1 or something like that. And that's something people are kind of thinking would be a great way.
Well, I think I would be the person that would be.
Is your title community liaison? Or?
My title is Vice President, External Relations.
Okay.
I deal with the community. I deal with government officials.
Right.
I deal with buildings. I come to these meetings and I try to gather input and take it back. And I would have to say that while I appreciate some of the unhappiness that has been expressed by members of the community, I can assure you that the authority and its management are concerned with what the community thinks and will continue to come to meetings and come to community events to hear what people have to say. And I would be delighted to hear from any of you individually or collectively, and many of you here have known me for a long time.
But before we beat this to death, let me put this on the table, because I agree with you, but we're not here to beat them up either.
I'm not beating anyone up, I'm pointing out.
Well, you're asking questions that we've all asked. And by the way, we all need to remind ourselves, we have written resolution after resolution stating exactly what you're talking about and very specific, and have not really gotten requests back. So we need to keep pressing them. So I appreciate you bringing that up, but we need to continue to work on this issue.
Goes to the West Thames lawn. It's interesting that there's changes to what was going on. At first, the presentation seemed to be it just was going to be grass. Now there's changes going on. Will we get community input, or will it be a done deal? I mean, you said the plans have been approved. You talked about misting stations, water fountains. It looks like it's a different iteration than what it is right now. And it's, good, bad, I don't know. But it would be nice to have community input to see what it is.
Well, I think we've asked for that, so we want them to come back.
Before
the
it's
community
a done
input,
deal.
I don't know how much we're going to get if the public design commission is already signed off.
That's my concern.
Yes, and I mean, Robin, do you want to reference the process that we followed there? Okay. I know that there were inquiries, questions that were feelers that were put out, and questions that were asked about how to best address what the objective was of creating a place for community, for the children in the community to play, while also providing the amenities that the Public Design Commission was concerned about. And actually they were all consistent. They seemed to be all very consistent. providing shade, providing drinking fountain, misting stations. So it is essentially taking the playing field and providing additional comfort amenities and aesthetic improvements.
And so are you not gonna have, what's gonna happen to that play area? Can you just give it to us straight? Like, is it
Yeah, it
gonna be
looks-
chopped up, divided
No,
up?
it's not, no,
Is it
the
gonna be-
size is the same.
It's gonna be turf instead of grass,
Yes.
right? And it'll still be, because I was there Sunday with my kids and it's like just mobbed, right? Which
Yeah.
is
Right.
exciting, but also any idea of carving that, I mean, for like, are we
No
gonna get
carving.
loose play space for seats and fountains for
No, no,
tourists to drink
the-
out
no,
of?
the-
Yeah,
the-
right, yeah,
the-
thank you.
The planters and the benches will be along the west side of the field where
it's open
where
now.
there's a walkway now. And so the field will, none of the field will be sacrificed for any of that.
Like literally zero loss of
Zero.
square footage?
Yes,
Because it's going to be on the other side of the fence, the planter? Like, because you're going to
No,
have...
the west side,
You know-
where people walk now.
Right, where the walkway is.
And you're set on that because that's a place kids play as well.
I'm sorry, what?
You're set on that without any public input because that's a place where kids also
You
play.
mean a
there.
sidewalk?
The sidewalk, well, no. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like
So,
they-
the west
it's like
side
there's
of
so
the
few
sidewalk.
places for our kids to play.
Yeah, they do. They play against that. They've got no place to play. They play against
Just
that
wondering
wall. They play volleyball.
where this idea came
Yeah,
from without
'cause
public. Like, that's
I'm
like,
not thrilled about the planters. That's going to be dangerous.
this is where it's one of the few spots. And I was struck being there. Some grew up in the suburbs, thinking like this is just absurd that there's just so many families trying to find a spot. And now you're talking about cutting off that edge. And I'm just wondering again why there's no public input. This is where we
Yeah.
live. These are our children. Obesity is an issue. Kids are being active.
Why don't we get the images to you?
That would be lovely.
Let's see, you know, if there's a concern that you have after you see what a design is, what it's
Let's do that.
If we could get that
Makes sense.
sooner rather
That
than
makes
later, and
sense.
then that we could exactly, because we're just
Before
having
we-
imagination.
Yeah, start going into the cabinet.
Can you give us any update on that security barrier at the top of the Liberty Street ramp going down?
That will be considered as part of the Police Memorial Vault project and the streetscape security assessment. Those are going to be proceeding concurrently so that by the time we're in construction here, we should have a plan for how we're going to deal with, treat that, if there's any other security element that we plan to install there, or if it's going to be a removal of the security element. But we're not quite at that point to know exactly how we're going to deal with that.
Other questions from the committee? Go ahead.
I have a question on the...
Excuse me, Ruth isn't on the committee.
She's a public member, appointed public
Yeah.
member. She has the floor.
On South End Avenue, you were talking about pedestrian, I wasn't quite sure what you were talking about.